Hey, friends! It is the 12th of February. We're I think on Thursday, right? Not a good day again in the markets. We've been pounding the table here on this channel several times, many times. That the stocks are not acting well. They've tried a couple of times, few times, to stage in advance. They were trying to tell us that they might look strong, all the while. It's a lot of deterioration, and it's only so many times that you can continue to do this and try to make people believe that there is something there when it actually isn't, and we do have many things breaking down. So again, a heavy day for the market. Here we come again into another Friday where are we going to get another push like we did last week where we're going to squeeze up 2%? We'll see. But again, it's just not a good market at all. And today we've gone in all the indices with heavy selling, and we closed towards the lows of those sessions. I don't know if you call it a disruption. There's so many reasons that the talking heads up on CNBC can come up with and saying, what's the reason, that this is happening. Well, there is just there is just weakness underneath the surface. I don't know how else to explain it, and that's been present. It's a broken market. You could see certain sectors that were trying to push higher, technology that's been selling off, crypto that's been selling off, and there is this indicator, Hindenburg Omen indicator. You've probably seen it. I watch it. I don't talk about it much, but basically it shows you every once in a while. When you have new highs and new lows in the market, and if that happens repeatedly, and there's several other things that kind of makes it up. It's one of those things that tells you, that it's just not good. So, looking at the Nasdaq Composite here, and we'll jump and take a look also because Bitcoin again it's been turning down a little bit, and I'm curious to see if it's going to hold that 61.8. But there is further cracks there as well. Now, if you're looking at the Nasdaq Composite here on the Elliott wave count, and this market is the one that's been continuing to whisper, we can get above the 50-day. We can get above the 50-day. And yesterday I showed, how the Dow Jones basically failed up at the top. He overtook yesterday took the previous day's low, whatever the day was, Tuesday, and today we came down, and that almost looks like a fake breakout in the Dow, almost something similar with what you see right there in the Nasdaq Composite. Something similar it seems to be happening in the Dow. The small caps have sold off as well. So if this is a 1 and a 2, or a 1 2 even worse, right? You could continue to go. Now the level important, it's back here, right? This kind of 22,000. If we're losing this one, and if we do that sharply, we could have further decline. And the idea is that we would eventually, find some kind of a level for this wave too. But this is, if this is just kind of starting. It's not something that should be completed, too quickly. So, again, I continue to play defense in here. I did close. I had some puts on the Qs that are expiring next Friday. So, I took half of those off on this drop right there, and I took the rest of them off here because in case they're not gonna sell, I had them at 600, 590 in the Qs, and we are at 600 right now. So if we're not gonna drop sharply next week, I have a feeling that I'm gonna be very tight on them, or any rally, it's gonna make them lose money, or at least not being profit, whatever. But I do have more in the SPY and in the Dow, and in the IWM. So I push those out for March and even for April monthly expiration, just so I can play defense on the long positions in the Qs and the SPY in the longer term portfolio. So just trying to play protection for a move lower. The other stock that maybe you guys remember talking about was Dell, which I'm short, and this was done today about 10%. I'm still fighting with SanDisk on the short side, and that's not really working. I do have ELF. Let me see if I can, and then I'll come back to this because this is stuff that I track. So ELF, it's a short. It tried to rally today, but I'm looking on the weekly time frames to break the slower ARWR. It's taking its sweet time. We'll see what happens there. I opened a short position on Micron today on this. I think it's a B wave rally. It's a very minimal risk in here, so I'm willing to take a chance on it. And then here's Dell, which it went all the way up there. My stop is 133 above this week's high because this was the week that we sold off in the biggest volume. And yeah, I was thinking for a couple of days, I'm like, what's going on? Is it going to stop me out? And today it just kind of crashed lower. And I think if we close this week, this has a lot further to go. If we close like this and the volume starts coming in, but we'll see what happens there. But you know, there is a lot of other stuff up there. I mean, look at APP, which is you look this one. It's not in a good shape either. Bloom Energy, Hood. It's been, I had a short in Hood right there, and I screwed it up, I guess, on this rally or something. I can. There's a few others that I messed up on the short side, but anyway, let me go back to the wave count and kind of talk to you about it. So this is the idea that we can get a 1-2 or an ABCX, ABC, and see if we can continue to decline in this indices. So the S&P, that looks like it's still trying. Let me go here on the daily. We just gotta start to break below this level. But again, I do have a feeling that it might do something like, even if it breaks a little bit, it might go back up there and then go, almost like it needs to create another right shoulder before it goes. And hear me out why I'm saying this. It's because I'm trying to see if it's actually going to give the 200-day a chance to come closer in here. But look at this, right? And now we're starting to be multiple times below the 50-day moving average, and that's a big deal. The more penetrations of this we have, the more flatter this gets, the bigger chances are that this is actually going to accelerate. And if you look at the NASDAQ now, look, we're living below the 50-day for the longest time since this push in here, and we haven't been below that in a long time. So guys, this is a bit of a problem, being rejected with the 20 that crosses over. So if it really wants to be some kind of a triangle in an A, B, C, D, and E, then it needs to hold these lows, because you could get something like this. I don't know how it ties up into the larger picture, but you can be in some kind of an ugly pattern that continues, maybe before it breaks higher and then we go. So I'm watching this, and this is kind of what I'm watching these lows. But usually, the closer you get to 200 and being below the 50, something like happened in Bitcoin as well. Remember, look how long we were here, and then eventually we got rejected. The 200-day got closer, then the market broke below it, and then you get a crossover, and then you fuck, because then you go into the bear market. So I don't know if this is where Nasdaq is, or that's what it's trying to do, but I'm definitely going to watch this, because I think these are the clues that are coming in. And if you look at at the Dow, right, here is the fake breakout, and you're back below these levels, right? Like, we should have held as retest, but it was nothing but air, and now we're back here. If we get back below the 50, watch out below. Russell, so it's a little bit better, I don't know why, but it seems to have a bit more strength, and this is still pointing higher, so it's got to do more either sideways or coming down and then going back up. So this might hold a bit more. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin, and this is the level, right? That's the kind of the 61.8. I think we are. Let me see if I can grab it. I think we are almost there, but we're not holding. Maybe let's go to like a 1 hour chart and see. I guess that's close to 64.42, and it's even hard to kind of call this some kind of an impulse in here. So let's take a look at the counts in Bitcoin, and then we'll close off. But I'm going to use IBIT for this, if you don't mind. So forget this wave one. It's just because we're on the data. It's just this. So don't look at this. Although even in Bitcoin, I think we do have this as a wave one overall. So forget the count that's up to here. What I'm interested in is it's kind of what's going on down here. And if we go lower a little bit, so let's see if we can go to like a 6 hour. Without breaking too much. All right, so we have our B wave, and then you have the decline 1, 2, 3, and this looks like a 4, so it needs to do, kind of one more drop in here. And remember, this you could get a truncated fifth wave that almost looks like a diagonal, and it's kind of ugly. So it doesn't necessarily have to take down this low, because usually, oh Jesus, usually once if you have a sharp move, there's a tendency to get truncation. So this is pretty clean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1, 2, and then 3. Maybe a 4 still in progress, maybe forming a triangle. We'll see if it drops again. But the idea is that if we're making a new low, get ready for a little bit of a bounce. And we'll see what that is, right? That could be, another move like this, and then we're going again much stronger, or it could be that W that I was talking about, and you could get the WXY. So I'm going to go to like a combination and go here, there, and then I'm going to connect this to the Y just so we can change that. Okay, here we go. I think that's better. Yeah, in terms of kind of the labeling. Again, a suggestion, it doesn't have to be, but I'm watching what's going on in here. Now, again, I'm not suggesting go long here. I'm not suggesting go long just because, I'm thinking that there is, uh, a rally happening. Maybe it doesn't. Think about this. This is where you are, and I'm going to put the channel on. Okay, I'm going to put the channel, which I need to know how to do that. Hold on a second. Analysis, short channel. Okay. This is what you are against, which means that you're moving from the higher left to the lower right. Right? That's a downtrend. You really don't want to play with that. I would rather, if anybody wants to short or do a trade on Bitcoin, I would rather you short as you're approaching these levels. If you're approaching the 61.8 of this moving here, as you're coming into this resistance, as you're coming into the moving averages on Bitcoin, somewhere up into the 20-day or maybe into the 50 as it's coming lower. I know, maybe you don't want to do that and say, well, I'm never going to short Bitcoin. I'm never going to, do that. I'd rather buy it. Well, in my book, if you want to buy it, it has to be much later than now. Okay, it's got to be after this wave here. Okay, at least bottom line, after you're getting some heavy buying on a daily time frame with volume coming in and getting above the 20-day at least, if you don't want to wait until you're above the 50. But these are all, uh, you're going to be fighting that supply that's overhead, and it's going to work against you, especially with the market, with an equity market that seems to be heavy. Now, Bitcoin could have been the one that just led everything down, and the equities market. I mean, maybe Bitcoin just smelled the risk already, and people got out of it, and now that would be nice. That would be kind of interesting, right? Bitcoin to lead such a big stock market, but who knows? We'll see what happens in here. But shorter term, that's what I'm watching. I'm watching for the shorter move, and then because here is what happens sometimes. Sometimes, if I go to 1 hour, maybe, you go lower, then you bounce, let's say from this level of rate, and then you go and you fail again right there, right here, and then you go down again. I've seen that many times. So this is going to be a very important level, a level where shorts are just going to salivate if the market goes back there, and it's kind of the highest low that's existing so far, and they're going to have the stops above those levels. And then they're going to look to continue to kind of hammer this to the downside as soon as it moves up there. So just little tricks in here. You can see you're below the 50 RSI, and again, this is just an hourly chart, but so we can talk more about the daily RSI, the weekly RSI, what everything is, and it's just, I mean, look, on the daily it's bad, on the weekly it's bad, it's at 30. So we are where we are with this. So that's what I have for today. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow it's Friday, so I think it's Friday tomorrow. What the heck? I'm losing my mind. Yes. Um, so I will see everybody on Monday. Yep. Nothing over the weekend. I'm just gonna relax and chill. I'm gonna finish up my coffee and then go outside for a walk maybe, and then all right, try to enjoy the evening. Bye everyone.